distinctions of past, present and future are essential to time, and that, if the distinctions are never true of reality, then no reality is in time. This view, whether it is true or false, has nothing surprising in it. It was pointed out above that time, as we perceive it, always presents these distinctions. And it has generally been held that this is a real characteristic of time and not an illusion due to the way in which we perceive it. Most philosophers, whether they did or did not believe time to be true of reality, have regarded the distinctions of the A series as essential to time. When the opposite view has been maintained, it has generally been, I believe, because it was held, rightly as I shall try to show later on, that the distinctions of present, past and future cannot be true of reality, and that consequently, if the reality of time is to be saved, the distinction in question must be shown to be unessential to time. The presumption, it was held, was for the reality of time, and this would give us a reason for rejecting the A series as unessential to time. But of course this could only give a presumption. If the analysis of the notion of time showed that by removing the A series time was destroyed, this line of argument would be no longer open, and the unreality of the A series would involve the unreality of time. I have endeavoured to show that the removal of the A series does destroy time, but there are two objections to this theory, which we must now consider. The first deals with those time series which are not really existent, but which are falsely believed to be existent, or which are imagined as existent. Take, for example, the adventures of Don Quixote. This series, it is said, is not an A series. I cannot at this moment judge it to be either past, present or future. Indeed, I know that it is none of the three. Yet, it is said, it is certainly a B series. The adventure of the galley slaves, for example, is later than the adventure of the windmills. And a B series involves time. The conclusion drawn is that an A series is not essential to time. The answer to this objection I hold to be as follows. Time only belongs to the existent. If any reality is in time, that involves that the reality in question exists. This, I imagine, would be universally admitted. It may be questioned whether all of what exists is in time, or even whether anything really existent is in time. But it would not be denied that, if anything is in time, it must exist. Now, what is existent in the adventures of Don Quixote? Nothing, for the story is imaginary. The acts of Cervantes' mind when he invented the story, the acts of my mind when I think of the story, these exist. But then these form part of an A series. Cervantes' invention of the story is in the past. My thought of the story is in the past, the present, and, I trust, the future. But the adventures of Don Quixote may be believed by a child to be historical, and in reading them I may by an effort of the imagination contemplate them as if they really happened. In this case the adventures are believed to be existent or imagined as existent, but then they are believed to be in the A series, or imagined as in the A series. The child who believes them historical will believe that they happened in the past. If I imagine them as existent, I shall imagine them as happening in the past. In the same way, if anyone believed the events recorded in Morris's News from Nowhere to exist, or imagined them as existent, he would believe them to exist in the future, or imagine them as existent in the future. Whether we place the object of our belief or our imagination in the present, the past, or the future will depend upon the characteristics of that object. But somewhere in our A series it will be placed. Thus the answer to the objection is that, just as a thing is in time, it is in the A series. If it is really in time, it is really in the A series. If it is believed to be in time, it is believed to be in the A series. If it is imagined as in time, it is imagined as in the A series. The second objection is based on the possibility, discussed by Mr. Bradley, that there might be several independent time series in reality. For Mr. Bradley, indeed, time is only appearance. There is no real time at all, and therefore there are not several real series of time. But the hypothesis here is that there should be within reality several real and independent time series. The objection, I imagine, is that the time series would be all real, while the distinction of past, present and future would only have meaning within each series and could not therefore be taken as ultimately real. There would be, for example, many presents. Now, of course, many points of time can be present. Each point in each time series is a present once. But they must be present successively. And the presence of the different time series would not be successive, since they are not in the same time. Neither would they be simultaneous, since that equally involves being in the same time. They would have no time relation whatever. And different presents, unless they are successive, cannot be real. So the different time series, which are real, must be able to exist independently of the distinction between past, present and future. I cannot, however, regard this objection as valid. No doubt, in such a case, no present would be the present. It would only be the present of a certain aspect of the universe. But then no time would be the time. It would only be the time of a certain aspect of the universe. It would, no doubt, be a real time series, but I do not see that the present would be less real than the time. I am not, of course, asserting that there is no contradiction in the existence of several distinct A-series. My main thesis is that the existence of any A-series involves a contradiction. What I assert here is merely that, supposing there could be any A-series, I see no extra difficulty involved in there being several such series independent of one another, and that therefore there is no incompatibility between the essentiality of an A-series for time and the existence of several distinct times. Moreover, we must remember that the theory of a plurality of time series is a mere hypothesis. No reason has ever been given why we should believe in their existence. It has only been said that there is no reason why we should disbelieve in their existence, and that therefore they may exist. But if their existence should be incompatible with something else, for which there is positive evidence, then there would be a reason why we should disbelieve in their existence. Now there is, as I have tried to show, positive evidence for believing that an A-series is essential to time. Supposing therefore that it were the case, which for the reasons given above I deny, that the existence of a plurality of time series was incompatible with the essentiality for time of the A-series, it would be the hypothesis of a plurality of times which should be rejected, and not our conclusion as to the A-series. I now pass to the second part of my task. Having, as it seems to me, succeeded in proving that there can be no time without an A-series, it remains to prove that an A-series cannot exist, and that therefore time cannot exist. This would involve that time is not real at all, since it is admitted that the only way in which time can be real is by existing. The terms of the A-series are characteristics of events. We say of events that they are either past, present or future. If moments of time are taken as separate realities, we say of them also that they are past, present or future. A characteristic may be either a relation or a quality. Whether we take the terms of the A-series as relations of events, which seems the more reasonable view, or whether we take them as qualities of events, it seems to me that they involve a contradiction. Let us first examine the supposition that they are relations. In that case, only one term for each relation can be an event or a moment. The other term must be something outside the time series. Footnote 4. It has been maintained that the present is whatever is simultaneous with the assertion of its presentness, the future whatever is later than the assertion of its futurity, and the past whatever is earlier than the assertion of its pastness. But this theory involves that time exists independently of the A-series and is incompatible with the results we have already reached. End footnote. For the relations of the A-series are changing relations, and the relations of terms of the time series to one another do not change. Two events are exactly in the same places in the time series relatively to one another 1,000,000 years before they take place, while each of them is taking place, and when they are 1,000,000 years in the past. The same is true of the relation of moments to each other. Again, if the moments of time are to be distinguished as separate realities from the events which happen in them, the relation between an event and a moment is unvarying. Each event is in the same moment in the future, in the present, and in the past. The relations which form the A-series, then,